Saryn and Frost, Minerva and Velimir. Oh Jesus Christ, I mean come on, it's not even just her, he's fine too. Okay, Warframe video. Saryn and Frost might be incredibly old frames, but that doesn't mean that they aren't some of today's top meta options. From the highest possible damage AoE attacks to what might be Warframe's best single ability, these two have definitely had their day in the light, and that day is still going on. These Warframes are just disgustingly strong, everyone. Today is going to be a hyper-focused best of the best builds for these two, using what I believe is their current strongest setups, and if this gameplay is anything to go by, well, y'all are in for a treat. Beginning with what I'd argue most of you are here for, we have Warframe's highest KPM weapons build in Saryn with the Kuva Sobek. Context is kinda needed here though. This isn't the first time I've covered this particular setup, it actually being the focus of my first ever Perfected episode on yours truly, though with updates like Jade Shadows, Kome and the Five Fates, and 1999 all occurring in between the making of these two videos, things have changed, and what is a better time to cover this than when we get her very own proto frame. Difference number one relative to the original video is the addition of the Kuva Sobek, which is a pretty big ramp in capabilities relative to the original version. Besides the up to 60% base damage increase of any progenitor element, it simply just has a higher base damage, almost double the critical chance, a 15% increase in critical damage, and a moderately higher status chance. Paired with the faster reload time and farther fall off distance, Kuva Sobek is actually a really great overall damage boost, but honestly, it's not these menial stats that really matter when concerning its exclusive mod Acid Shells. Acid Shells will cause kills by your Sobek to trigger an explosion over a 15-meter radius that deals both 450 corrosive damage and 45% of the targeted enemy's HP. To put it simply, the HP of these heavy gunners is around 3.6 million, so this mod will redirect 1.62 million of that back at them, which sounds great, yet when applied in game, it looks absolutely awful, and this issue stems mainly from enemy armor. Even with Jade Shadows having adjusted enemy armor to cap out at 2700 for a maximum of 90% damage reduction, that still results in only 162,000 damage being dealt, and when accounting for steel path modifiers and everything else, it just, yeah. Damage ain't there. Just yet though. Damage just ain't there yet. But Saryn has not only a remedy for the percent HP issue, but something so strong, you don't even care about that. Yet I'm getting ahead of myself. Her first ability, Spores, resolves the armor issue by removing it entirely, so quickly and passively, it doesn't really make sense to not use it. As complicated as the wiki page can make this one look, simply casting will infect an enemy with multiple corrosive spores, a damage meter now appearing right above your weapon's HUD over here. By shooting these spores, you can spread this infection to enemies within a defined range, causing them all to suffer a myriad of symptoms beginning with corrosive damage per second and a 50% chance to inflict the corrosive status per spore. While the damage here can get quite high, it is the corrosive status that we really want from this ability, and man does it do a fantastic job at spreading it. Corrosive applies corrosion to enemies it is applied to, the very first proc reducing armor by 26%, with all after only reducing by 6%, which with a 10 stat cap culminates in a total armor reduction of 80%. But it is with Emerald Archon shards and the +2 increase to max corrosive that we can increase this to a full armor strip by adding in 2 of said shards. And seeing as Spores is spread within an up to 44.8 meter range that does not care for line of sight, almost no enemy you make contact with should have anything but a nice red HP bar ready for you to melt away. So even if things were left off here, Saryn would be an okay frame for Acid Shells, yet so many others have armor strip and it wouldn't really make sense to hype her up that much only for that, but we aren't, cause Toxic Lash, her third ability, ain't just a great weapons buff ability, it is the best in the entire game. Casting Lash will imbue all of your weapons with 30% more toxin damage that is dealt as an additional hit alongside your main shot, a guaranteed toxin proc coming with it too. This additional hit is almost too powerful, damage being quantified before health and armor resistances, which when combined with the dot scaling so incredibly powerfully, just does that. To start, Toxin is a status skills off plus toxin damage sources like Infected Clip or Malignant Force, and this holds true to the Force dot by Lash, regardless of if they are combined with other elements into viral or corrosive, allowing you to benefit from them still. Furthermore, faction damage mods will work almost as you'd expect here, first applying to all of your damage before multiplying Lash's hit a second time, but seeing as Toxin is again a damage over time status, it will be multiplied a third time for an effective triple dip. All of this is so important though, because the explosion triggered by acid shells is actually considered as another instance of your weapon dealing damage, and Lash will be applied to it, spreading this insanely buffed toxin dot to every enemy hit, and thus one-shotting them. And no, even Eximus are not strong enough to live through this. Now, remember how I mentioned the percent HP stuff being kind of irrelevant with Lash being that strong? Well, it still would be if there wasn't a way to scale the 45% HP to 100%. And, of course, there is. These percent HP mods actually get buffed by faction damage in about the best way possible, as they will multiply the percentage of enemies' health that is dealt in the final AoE by their respective value. Meaning that for a full 100% redirection, we'd need 2.23 or 123% more faction damage. This cannot be obtained completely from just a primed cleanse mod though, so Roar will actually replace Saryn's 4th for ultimate damage purposes. Bringing us back to Sobek though, the build has changed some due to progenitor bonuses now being in the mix here, which you should actually choose cold for on this build specifically. Why is that? Well, by having cold innately, you can combine it with a toxin mod to get viral, which allows you to benefit from it also extending itself to Lash and so on. Having toxin means you don't get that, so anyone looking to start this build from scratch, use one of these frames to spawn your Lich. Assuming you do have a cold progenitor now, unlike me. The only mods that will actually benefit acid shells are a primed cleanse mod, elementalist, and contagious spread. Everything else here is purely to help actually kill targets to start the damage chain, for which we use both main galvanized mods, clip delegation, magnetic strafe, and vigilante supplies with primary blight in the arcane slot. All of that should be more than enough to tank down an Eximus incredibly quickly and start the cascade, especially with Spore's armor strip and Lash being thrown in there. On Saryn herself, looking at our Archon shards, obviously there is the 2 corrosive stack ones and a casting speed, but 2 more of them with the toxin status effects deal 30% more damage effect is yet again another multiplier to add onto this build. This shard buff in particular is quite powerful for obvious reasons on Saryn, as they are a multiplicative boost to toxin damage, scaling separately from Roar or anything else, so if you can add them, add them. On Saryn, you are aiming for as high range and strength as possible with decent duration and lower efficiency. One thing I haven't discussed yet that is included though is her first ability augment, Venom Dose, which adds at base 200% more corrosive damage to your weapons. This is mainly used for the faction specific multiplier, and the toxin damage that is used to make corrosive does actually benefit Lash here, cause why wouldn't it? The 45 efficiency makes a single cast of Bolt when you have at least 3 auger mods equipped in total, 2 of them being on your pistol, enough to fully shield gate through catalyzing, though I can understand if this active gating style isn't really your thing, which is where you should drop augmented, reach, and either rage or transient for deflection, vigor, and aegis to passively shield gate very effectively. Trust, this setup, even with a rank 0 Aegis, makes you practically immortal. Otherwise, your companion can be anything but a Panzer, as that one specifically has a negative synergy with Saryn's spores, as its viral quills work in the exact same way and will actually overtake them, which we don't want. Something like Nautilus with this build is more than enough right now. Okay, Saryn is, yeah, kind of disgusting. So how does Frost really compete with that? Well, he competes by having a single ability do a full defense strip, give you 200% critical chance and damage, full crowd control, insanely high overguard generation, 40% more strength and duration, and even more critical damage from the cold status, which is all non-line of sight by the way, and I don't even know if I'm missing anything. I might be. Yeah, Avalanche kinda has it all, which is pretty damn good as Frost doesn't really do much else. Sure, there is this one with his AUG for more cold damage, but it is nothing too ridiculous. The fact that this one ability is the only reason you really want to play him is kinda crazy, but at the same time, it's so insanely good that it don't really matter. What you mainly want to focus on with him is being able to take care of these now massively debuffed enemies as quick as possible, which summons Akicore, for just being Akicore. I doubt you need an introduction to this weapon. It is the auto-aiming secondary that we racked up 4.2 billion kills on with in 2024 for a good reason. It is ridiculously strong. Here is the build for Akicore. It is meant for use with Nourish though, which I do have subsumed over Frost's second ability, his build looking like this. Okay, it does feel kind of weird to do Frost in about a minute relative to Saryn, but it is 3:37 in the morning right now, and I'm going to be on a plane in less than 12 hours. Yeah, this video, the first couple minutes of it, man, I was really pouring a lot into it, and I wasn't able to finish it in time with the same bar of quality that I wanted to. And yeah, I apologize for that. Excalibur Perfected and Rhino Perfected are going to be the videos I work on when I get back. And hopefully I'm going to be able to do those in about 3 to 4 days each, because they're bigger than this one. But I don't want to do this like super high quality and then I get to the builds part and I just kind of drop off, because I don't know, it doesn't sit well with me. But I didn't really have much of a choice for this one. I haven't packed yet. I gotta leave. So Saryn and Frost are some of 2025's top weapons platforms for obvious reasons. And with their new Protoframe skins, you should definitely pick them up. Totally for gameplay reasons, nothing else. Thank you for joining me on this quick look at these 2 frames, and even quicker one on Frost, let's be real. I will see you all next week for Excalibur Perfected. Peace.